Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
40 years ago this week, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down the 7-2 decision Roe v. Wade, and since then, 55 million children have lost their lives. I am Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Shawn Akers, the director of Liberty Counsel's Middle Eastern Affairs. Shawn, this is a sad week, 40 years in American history. That is the bloodiest years of American history in our existence. January 22, 1973, 40 years ago, just a couple of days earlier in this week, and today is the March for Life in Washington, D.C. The U.S. Supreme Court handed down this 7-2 decision, and they invented the so-called right to abortion that covered all 9 months, from the moment of conception all the way until the child is born outside the womb and takes its first breath, that you can take the life of a child for any reason whatsoever at any time along that spectrum. And since then, 55 million plus children have been slaughtered and lost their lives. This is a sad week in American history.
Matt, the early American leader Henry Ward Beecher said that liberty's the soul's right to breathe, and when you can't take a long breath, laws are girdled too tight. We've never in the history of the United States seen a piece of legislation or a Supreme Court decision go further to choke the life out of people than Roe versus Wade did, and we've paid over 40 years such a high price in not just life but the most innocent life in the United States. It places us right on par with other countries that have done things that have made the history books, but for some reason this one's been given a pass.
Yeah, there was a video I watched recently about an abortionist up in Pennsylvania, Dr. Counsel. And he had this awful abortion clinic, late-term abortion clinic, and babies that would actually be born. And there's a story of even a person that was there working in the clinic playing with the child after it was born. And he snipped the scissors on the back of the spinal column at the neck, and there was a picture of the back of the neck. It was just gruesome things. And he's now going through the trial and will likely serve prison time. Some women lost their lives. Obviously, countless unborn children, preborn children lost their lives. And it was a documentary that was done regarding him, and it was looking at the tragedy of the situation. And it made me think that one day we're going to have a documentary, not just looking at that, but looking at abortion in general. Because the barbaric nature of abortion, whether it's early suction abortion or it's some later gruesome abortion like this particular individual does, it's all murder, it's all barbaric, and it all is a very sad chapter in American history. It's a chapter that I believe will ultimately be turned at some point, and that's why we have to remain vigilant.
I don't think there's any doubt, Matt. You look at any correlation to this in history, whether it's slavery, whether it's early drug use, whether it's indentured servitude, whatever. Go back and look at things that don't compare in their depth to that of abortion. And it only took a few decades sometimes to recognize those as the greatest evil and have this astounding view of how could we as a civilized people have done that. I'll give you a way to kind of put that in context now. If we just ask ourselves, what would the public outcry be if you did to puppies what we do to the preborn? The world would be on fire against the United States if we did to puppies what we do to the preborn. At some point in the future, we're going to look back and say that it was under our watch, under we the people, that we allowed the greatest slaughter probably in modern human history.
Yeah, you have the Newtown, Connecticut situation, and certainly that's a tragedy where these young, innocent children lost their lives by the shooter. And then as a result of that, the public outcry against that kind of violence, which is obviously understandable and correct. But at the same time, that kind of public violence happens all the time, every single day. There's more children that were killed in that Newtown area of Connecticut through abortion just in a short period of time, a couple of weeks, as it were, in that one day. And it happens all the time. And the only difference between those children and these other children that are aborted is age. That's the only difference. So we should be up in arms saying that these abortionists and these clinics that take this kind of barbaric action to take the life of preborn children, that ought to come to an end. I mean, this is enough is enough. In addition to what it's done to people and to, I think, bring a curse here on America, we can't continue to survive when we kill our posterity like this and we shake our fist in God's face. But it's also done serious damage to the rule of law, because they could not find this in the Constitution. It is not part of the Constitution. They invented it out of thin cloth. And what that means is that there really is no Constitution. There's just however many justices you can get. As long as you can get 5, then that's the rule of the day. Doesn't matter whether it's in the Constitution or not. That's not the rule of law. That will bring this country down as well.
Think about the challenge that really is, Matt. 5 people, 5 individuals were able to basically look God in the face and say, even though you said, let there be life, we're saying it's not life, and we'll do anything we want to with it. It's a direct challenge to the Judeo-Christian worldview. And you're absolutely right. With Newton is a horrible tragedy, but every child deserves our protection. Biblically, when you go back and you look at what God really got upset about, it's not typically the things that we get upset about. The biggest things that he warned leaders about were protecting children, protecting orphans, protecting widows, protecting those who can't protect themselves. That was what God really got upset about. And we have to, at some point, face him as a nation and say that not only did we look the other way, in many instances, we condoned. And when we do it through a public act, when we begin to fund these things with public funds, and when we begin to entrench them in public legislation, it's a corporate act by all of us, the entire United States, taken against those in need of most protection, the most precious little things that God's given us, and we're going to have to answer to him for it.
Yeah, no question about it. The good thing is that the generation that's behind us, the younger generation, is even more pro-life than our generation.
Yeah.
And people have estimated at this and other events up in Washington, D.C., where you have these rallies, that 85% or a large percentage, supermajority of the people that are there are young people. And so the trend is among young people to become more pro-life. There was just a couple of days ago, 35,000 people that gathered in Scotland. In Scotland right now, it is not legal to have abortion. There is an effort by the government to try to legalize an aspect of abortion. 35,000 people showed up in the streets just a few days ago to protest the government's attempted action and to stand for life. When we look at this issue of life, I think we're gaining ground. More abortion clinics are closing. Time magazine showed that in its article with the front cover that the abortion industry is losing. I think it's a matter of time before Roe versus Wade is overturned at the Supreme Court and we develop and regain a culture of life in America.
Historically, biblically, Matt, there's a cycle of 40 years. We tend to wander 40 years in the wilderness and then find our way out. I just hope and pray that this, as we enter the 41st year after Roe versus Wade, is the time that we begin to really turn the tide against this atrocity and to win this battle. You're right. The younger generation, they get it. They look at this and they see there's no difference between what I see on that 4D ultrasound and what I see right after birth. That's the same little baby sucking the same thumb, making the same little motions. It's the same person that's going to grow up and go to the same schools, maybe hold the same offices, run the same businesses, have the same children of their own. They're seeing this and it's making sense.
Well, how many Einsteins and inventors
That's
and
right.
other pastors and world leaders and even presidents have we ultimately aborted through this 55 million people that we have killed? If you look at Florida, it's about 18 million, say it's 20 million people. That's 2.5 times the size of Florida. That's Florida times 2 plus another half of it. That's how many people that we have aborted. Just drive through Florida sometime on a vacation and remember the size, the magnitude of what we have done to our posterity, to our children here in this country. It's time to stand up. The good news is that you can make a difference. Stand with Liberty Counsel as we continue to defend those that can't defend themselves, to speak for those who have no voice. Go to Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org. That's lc.org. You can also ask for, when you go to our website or call, the truth about abortion. You can call 800-671-1776. That's 800-671-1776, or go to lc.org. Remember Liberty Counsel in your prayers and your financial support as well. Go to lc.org.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.